You have already used the Move mode to place widgets at certain positions and to adjust their size. If you want to do that for multiple elements at once, you can create a selection box to multi-select all widgets inside of the box and move or resize all of them at the same time. But be careful, there are two different types of boxes. If you drag the frame from the upper left to the lower right corner, the box is blue and only selects items that are completely within its boundaries. When you drag the frame in any other direction, the box is green and selects everything it touches. Of course, you can add items to your selection by pressing Ctrl and clicking on the objects. All elements can be copied and pasted, whether it is only one item or selection. Press Ctrl+C or use a right click and select Copy from the menu to copy elements, and press Ctrl and V to paste the selection at the position of the mouse pointer or use the right click menu. If you decide to copy several widgets at once, a pop-up will inform you about the names and IDs of the duplicates. You can decide to not show this dialog again. Ctrl and P pastes a copied widget at the same position as the original. For easy alignment of your objects, you can use a grid and enable the snap function. The grid settings can be found in the View menu. If you want to see the actual grid points, you can check the Show box. But keep in mind that it is only visible in Move and Create mode. There are other options to influence the appearance of this grid, like color, size, and transparency. When you enable Snap, your widgets and nodes will automatically snap to the grid when you change the position manually. The snap function can also be toggled on and off with the keyboard shortcut Alt+S. Back to the VJ console project. One thing you will want to be able to influence is the color of your content. If you are not using the Prepare Pandoras Box project, you first need to add a color effect to your two content layers, as you have learned in the Pandoras Box first grade training. Search for the RGB Multiply FX and drag and drop it on the two devices, and don't forget to set the mix parameter to 255. A great way to adjust color values in Widget Designer is the Color Picker widget. You can find it in the Fader Control section. When you open the item properties, you can see that you can address a Pandoras Box device directly. First, enter the device ID like you already know from other widgets. Second, the effect parameters. As you can add multiple effects to one device, you need to specify exactly which FX you want to control. In addition to that, you need to specify that the exact parameter that is supposed to react to a change in the color picker's red, green and blue value. The effect name must be identical to the one displayed when you perform a right-click in the device tree, including capital letters and white spaces. FX name and parameter name are separated by the vertical bar or pipe symbol. After adjusting red, green and blue, you are ready to go. Copy the widget for the second device as well. If you want to be able to also control the mix parameter for the effects from Widget Designer, you can use the fader to do so. Here, you need to use the same syntax for addressing an effect as in the color picker. The FX name and the parameter name separated by the pipe symbol. RGB multiply, pipe, mix. For clarity, you can add a label for the mix fader. And do the same for the second layer. As your interface starts filling up with objects, it is wise to bring some structure into them. The Shape widget enables you to draw a frame and group your widgets. In the item properties, you can change the shape's appearance. Change the color of the line by clicking on the color button. Change the thickness of the line or the roundness of the corners. The shape can also be filled instead of a transparent look. If you place a shape on top of other widgets, you need to be careful with the Z order. An element created after another one is displayed on top of the first one. In this case, you cannot access any of the widgets below the shape anymore. The shape has a dedicated checkbox for this problem. If you enable Prevent Selection, the shape is being pushed to the backmost position, making the other controls accessible again. The Z order applies to all widgets, not only the shapes. If you want to rearrange this order, you can do so by right-clicking on an element, selecting Z order from the menu, and decide whether you want to bring this object to the front or push it to the back. One important element, not only for a VJ console, but also for many other applications, is a way to restore a certain state of the project and set default values to guarantee proper functionality. A reset or default button. Before you do so, you need to evaluate what exactly you want to reset and what the reset state is. In your project are 3 different sections: content selection, playback speed, and color effect. You can use the play button and add some commands to the existing script. For the content selection, it does make sense to have the first layer active. To achieve this, the crossfader needs to be faded down. But the crossfade button also requires to be set to the correct, the release state, no matter in what state it currently is. Luckily, there's one command that can do both at once. WD custom script force released. This command forces the specified custom script button in its release state, if it is not already in it, and executes the respective script. The next section is the speed faders. The difficulty here is to find out what fader value represents the 100% speed in Pandoras Box. The easiest way is to just try it out manually. Now you either use the fader command you already know, or you use another command to apply the end value directly, without fade. This command is called WD fader value and requires the fader ID, 2 and 3 in this project, and the value 128. Last but not least, the color pickers. The mix faders are easy. Just use the same commands as before. Place the IDs and set a value of 0. If you also want to reset the color picker to a specific color, for example a neutral gray, you can use the command WD color picker set RGB. You are already familiar with the RGB format from tinting the crossfade button. This uses the same principle. Add the ID, as well as red, green and blue. 128 for each represent the medium gray. And you're done. You can also include setting different Pandoras Box parameters or even third-party application values to a default state.